What's the biggest hold my beer moment you've seen from someone over 70? My 72-year-old grandmother hasn't been allowed to touch a steering wheel in 3 years because my family decided she was basically a traffic hazard waiting to happen. They took her keys after she parallel parked what they called aggressively outside the grocery store, even though she'd done it perfectly in one smooth motion. Now my mom drives her everywhere at 15 miles under the speed limit while explaining every single traffic rule like grandma's never seen a road before. My dad installed those giant elderly assistance handles in every family car and makes her sit in the back seat because the airbag might be too powerful for her fragile bones. My brother Ryan actually put a baby on board sticker on his car, except he crossed out baby and wrote grandma because he thought it was hilarious to warn other drivers. Last year at my cousin's graduation party, everything went sideways when these guys from Ryan's automotive program showed up in modified street racers that sounded like jet engines. Ryan had been running his mouth about being the fastest driver in the family, which was ridiculous because he'd failed his driving test twice and only passed the third time because the instructor felt bad for him. The leader of these guys had neck tattoos and kept revving his BMW, calling Ryan a wannabe who probably learned to drive from Grand Theft Auto. When grandma walked over and said, "That engine sounds like it's running too rich," my mom literally grabbed her arm and went, "Mom, why don't you go inside and watch your shows? This is car stuff." Grandma tried to explain that the fuel mixture was obviously off, but my dad cut her off saying, "It's cute that you think you understand engines, but these are modern cars, not those old simple things from your time." The guys started laughing and challenging Ryan to prove he wasn't all talk, and before anyone could stop him, he accepted a race for his entire semester's tuition money. Grandma said, "Ryan, you should at least check your tire pressure first," and he actually patted her on the head and said, "Don't worry, Grandma, I've got this under control. Unlike your driving, which is why we had to take your keys, remember?" When Grandma suggested he at least warm up the engine properly, my sister rolled her eyes and said, "Grandma thinks she's in Fast and Furious now. Someone please take her inside before she hurts herself trying to look under the hood." My mom was frantically trying to talk Ryan out of it, but he kept insisting he knew what he was doing, even though we could all see his hands shaking. The race was set for midnight at the old industrial district, and if Ryan didn't show, they said they'd plaster his face all over social media as the biggest coward on campus. At 11:30, we all piled into separate cars to watch Ryan lose $5,000 he didn't have. Grandma tried to get in the driver's seat, and my dad said, "Mom, I'd rather let a blind person drive than risk you behind the wheel." She ended up squeezed between my aunts in the back while they talked over her like she wasn't there. The industrial district was packed with modified cars and people betting money, while Ryan sat in his stock Civic looking like he might throw up. The guy with neck tattoos announced, "Baby boy brought his whole family, including someone's great-great-grandmother," pointing at Grandma. That's when Grandma walked to Ryan's car and told him to get out. My mom shrieked, "Mother, you are absolutely not driving. You can barely walk without help," which was insane because Grandma did yoga every morning. My dad said, "The stakes are too high for your old reflexes," and tried to block her, but Grandma had already popped the hood, revealing an engine that wasn't stock. The crowd went silent when she revved it. Someone whispered, "No way, that's her," pulling out a phone showing a photo of someone called the Ghost Driver. My aunt laughed, saying, "You people think my elderly mother is some street racing legend? She can't even remember where she parked at Target." The guy with neck tattoos had gone pale. The flag dropped, and Grandma launched that Civic so hard the tires left smoke signatures while the BMW fishtailed trying to catch up. She took the first corner at an angle that should have flipped the car, but held it perfect while my mom screamed and my dad stood frozen. The BMW caught up on the straight, but Grandma shifted and suddenly was 3 car lengths ahead. The crowd was chanting "Ghost Driver" and shoving newspapers in my family's faces about an undefeated racer who disappeared in 1979. My aunt kept saying, "That's impossible," even as Grandma drifted around the water tower. She crossed the finish sideways and stepped out like she'd returned from buying groceries. The guy with neck tattoos dropped to his knees saying, "You're supposed to be dead," and Grandma said, "I got pregnant and my husband made me promise to stop, but honestly, this was too easy. You need to work on your launch." Ryan kept his tuition money, and my family bought Grandma a new Dodge Challenger last week. Nobody ever uses the word careful around her anymore.